Hello, everybody. Welcome. Just getting the chat up here. Thank you. You guys have been chatting for a few minutes. Thank you so much. So welcome to Apurva. Mark Oliver, hello. Thank you. Thank you for the sub, Mark. And Misty Rain, hello. I haven't seen your name in ages. That's really great that you're here. Nancy, hello. Texas Rose, welcome. This is a really, really interesting topic. And I want you to know that this morning I was long hair, skinny-eyed toe, welcome, and soul stalker. Namaste to all. Tamsin, hello. Welcome to you as well, too. I hope I didn't miss anybody. And so I just want to say welcome to all 14 of you that are here. Vanessa Moonchild, hello from Argentina. Welcome. This today was not at all what I was expecting to do. I've actually received a couple of new decks this week, and I really wanted to share some of that with you. But I really feel compelled. This is something that I wanted to talk about for a while. And I've been asked many times in different ways about certain decks that are not in my collection, decks that I don't use. And people are actually kind of surprised because I consider myself a spiritual person. I work with spirit. Spirit moves through me, and I feel very connected to the goddess, to her energy. And so I think I need to talk about this, and I want to have an open discussion tonight. I also want this to be a friendly discussion. And I haven't ever really shared this before, and perhaps the forum for this would be better inside a private Facebook group. But I want you to know I'm not here to offend anyone. I will share with you a lot of my personal and private stories and experiences, some of the different teachings, tell you a little bit about myself. And so in that vein, I thank you for your compassion, your openness, your consideration, and kindness to one another in the chat as well, too. And if there are any trolls here tonight because this conversation stirs somebody the wrong way, I really appreciate if there's any mods in the chat to help out with that. So yeah, I would like to start with a group reading because I think that's a really beautiful way to just kind of bring us all together. And I'm going to pull a couple cards from Ember and Aura. And for those of you that don't know this deck was realized during a retreat. So the creator, Lisa Richardson, I believe her name is, Jamie Richardson, was at a retreat. And I can read that little bit for you, actually, just so I get this info correct. I also love that she quotes Sue Monk Kidd in the index here. She quotes the Gospel of Thomas as well. I feel her in unexpected moments, her assumption into heaven happening in places inside me. She will suddenly rise, and when she does not go up into the sky, but further and further inside me. That's from Sue Monk Kidd's book, The Secret Life of Bees. And I have to tell you, one of my favorite books, also by Sue Monk Kidd, is The Mermaid Chair. It is an incredible novel. If you've never read that book, and I know there's a movie out as well too. And from the Gospel of Thomas, she quotes, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you will bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is in you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you." May we all honor her awakening inside, and may we all have the courage to bring forth what is within us. And so I just want to go to the page where she shares. She talks about walking a labyrinth, and she talks about her experience at a retreat. And so I'm just going to paraphrase from the best of my memory. It's been a while since I read this little white book, but she said that the art for this deck was downloaded. And so she was deep in meditation. And this is not at all what she went on this retreat to do. So this deck has the frequency of divine energy received through the art. And I think that's why I can connect with this deck. And even though it is primarily Christian symbology, there is a universal frequency to its beautiful energy. Yeah. So I don't know how many of you have this deck or have ever used it. I'm also going to pull an oracle card from Oracle of the Hidden Worlds with artwork by Gilbert Williams, Lucy Cavendish guidebook. And I'll do my best to keep up with the chat tonight as well too. Hey there, Fairy Wren and Fancy Weasel. Okay, so in honor of connection for all of us, connection. And I think this whole topic, like why people purchase these decks. If you saw the thumbnail, all those images, I don't have one of those decks in my collection. I'm going to talk about why I don't and some of the experiences I've had. But the reason people reach for these decks, the reason people have these decks, I feel, is that they want connection. They want to feel connected to God, Spirit, angels, Devi, Maha, and with hands on cards and with inspiration from other people, they're able to somehow find that connection. So that's what something that came to mind, as I was contemplating what in the world, how I was going to approach this topic today. And I don't know how many of you saw Queen Osette's video this morning. And I'm sorry, the other YouTube person that she was on a team with another very wonderful person. I'm going to check out her channel and should have put that in the link below, but I can go back and do that later. Loved everything that she had to say, loved that the Sanskrit was articulated beautifully, and it really connected. So yeah. So my question in this draw is about connection. It's about how can we deepen our connection to divine feminine energy, however we resonate with it. How can we feel it, embrace it, embody it, understand it, work with it in our daily lives? And if there's anything particular specific to this day and this group of 26 people who are watching, let that be revealed. And I don't have two cameras here today, so I will show you the cards. I'll hold them up. It's a white palette, and so the cards are Six of Swords and Two of Cups and the World. And there's a couple things that are coming to mind. So there's two people on either. You're there. Sorry. The camera is in a different place tonight. There's one person on either side. So the individual cards have a single person, and then there's two people in the center. And so right away, what I feel is the connection, but also the strength and the individuality on either side of that. And the Six of Swords in this deck, it could be an angel, it could be Jesus, it could be you standing on the top of the mountain. and going forward, going forth, you know, like think of all the proverbs and the quotes that encourage us to continue to go forward, go forth. So we go through these troubling times, and then there's the next step. So the next step, what is the next step? What is the next step? And keep moving forward on that next step. And all can be revealed. It's like when I'm looking at the circle around the woman in the world card. It's like, you know, we're fully embraced, like that. It's all there. Like it's complete. We don't need anything else. And so find the strength in your individual experience, but also find time to come together, because that communion is really important. That communion will help to fill your cup as well as fill the cup of those that you commune with. And I'll have to go to the guidebook because I'm not familiar with this particular, if this is a particular location. The card from the Hidden Worlds Oracle is the Angel Gate, but it truly does look like a portal. Kind of matches the energy of the Six of Swords. This is Angel Gate. And Misty Rain. So this is the this is Oracle of the Hidden Worlds by Lucy Cavendish, artwork by Gilbert Williams. And the Oracle, the Tarot deck. So I just want you to look at these two cards side by side. This is the, it's the Ember and Aura Tarot. I'll show you the box in just a moment. Do you see there's almost like a mirror image here with the dove and the way that the swords are? It's kind of really clever, actually. I find, you know, one of the things in working with spirit, however you describe that with language, is that if we can start to work in symbols and understand how symbols are connected to archetypes, and to not be over analytical, to allow the feelings, the energies, and the shapes, the colors to come through, we can really learn a lot. And so the circle in the Angel Gate mirrors the circle in the World card. Do you see that? And so I can, this one, I can see the World card also not only as a what I said, like that you're already complete, you're already whole kind of energy, but also it is a mirror for this portal. And what I feel there is that this portal, this connection with divine energy it's right there, and it's accessible, and it's available. And you may find that on your own journey. You may also find that in connection with others, and maybe both. So I'm just going to leave these cards here and see if anything else arises as we chat tonight. I'll show you the box for this tarot deck. So, yeah. I'm going to see what Mark has to say. Nancy says, I agree, Mark. Gonna go back. 1111, Vanessa Moonchild saw. And Mark saw Queen Osette's video. Okay. The Mermaid Chair. Yes, that's the name of the book, Mark. All right. I maybe just agreeing with beautiful cards. Soul Stalker 5, you are so welcome. All right. So where I'm going to start with is that I want to offer kindness and understanding and compassion for those of you that love these decks and work with these decks and feel connection with these decks, because we need that connection. And what else I'm going to offer tonight is just a little bit of insight into some of the conversation that happened in Queen Oset's video this morning. Oyas Girl is the name of the channel. And some of the things that I have learned and some of the things that I work with. And I will refer to my notes from time to time. I've also got a couple of books that I regularly check in with that I'll share some information with. So the pantheon of goddess energy that I am most familiar with is from the Indian pantheon. And I want to speak to how I came into that. So I am a yogi. I met a teacher here it was in British Columbia, in Whistler, British Columbia, actually at a yoga conference. And this was I've spoken about this before. This is where I met the teacher that kind of shifted my yoga experience to a very spiritual one. And there were physical asana classes going on at that time, and I decided to go to a workshop where we just sat down on the floor and listened to somebody talk, there were not many of those being offered. And I was in that class, and then the presenter walked in her full Swami gear, in her orange robes, and I was just blown away the whole time and made a deep connection, connected with her right away, and started working with her one-on-one through some kind of online, I don't remember what it was years ago. Anyway, it really shifted my perspective. And I suppose what I want to share with you was that this person came into my life just after so one of my daughters had attempted suicide. I was a mess. I was a wreck. And I had no idea how I was going to move through this, how I was going to manage it with my family, how I was going to talk about it with other people. And it's like this teacher just presented themselves at the right time. And so she was initiated. She is a karma sannyas in the Satyananda lineage. And I started working with her, and through my connection with her, made connections with the same ashram. And then I received my mantra diksha, my mantra initiation, as well as my jignas sannyas initiation. And have deeply connected with the people there. My guru at Rikya Peet is Swami Satsangi, is her short name. And it's just, it's a really beautiful and powerful experience. And so the references that I'm sharing with you today, most of them are from Yoga Publications Trust. So this school that was created by Swami Satyananda has a huge library of publications on all of these topics: tantra, mantra, everything, asana. And so I'm going to share with you a little bit about just some of the terminology that came up today. And I've got a few different cards here and things that I want to bring into the conversation. And I also want to keep it kind of light. I don't want to make this too heavy. And I think Andrew, whose name is Well-Tempered Claire, asked a very good question, asked for a definition of goddess. And that is, hello, Mallory. You're welcome. That is kind of where I'm going to start with this. And so the term, and I know part of the conversation today was about, well, isn't divine masculine, divine feminine conversation a new agey kind of thing? Well, no, it's not at all. It's very much a part of the yogic tradition. It's very much a part of these old teachings from the Puranas and the Vedas. It's not something that was created by hippies in the 60s. It's a very old part of the experience. What is described metaphorically through story, through folklore, through traditions, and through physical manifestations of gods and goddesses into statues, into murti, or into mantras or yantras, is something that has been realized thousands of years ago by very highly evolved individuals, humans, who through deep meditation saw and received these messages. So the divine feminine energy, referred to as Shakti in Sanskrit, is, and I'm just gonna kind of read here because I'm going to get lost, but Shakti is the power to manifest itself. The power to manifest itself is inherent in the supreme consciousness, and that power is Shakti. Energy in all forms: organic, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, kinetic, electric, and electromagnetic. Shakti literally signifies that which has the potential to create. And when people create ideas out of thin air, they are revealing Shakti. The Ace of Wands is Shakti. The Ace of Swords is Shakti. The Ace of Pentacles is Shakti, as is the Ace of Cups. There are people, it doesn't say that in here, I'm adding my own little spin on this. There are people who create empires, and they too are showing their Shakti. Anyone who exhibits talent and creativity puts their Shakti or power to create on display. And even the creation of a beautiful moment in someone's life is a glimpse of Shakti. Shakti is that force which can be known through multifarious activities. So Shakti is the energy that makes the God energy manifest. And Shakti is the trees. Shakti is it's the plants, it's this table, it's the tablecloth, it's you, it's me. Like Shakti is what we see. It's God made manifest. And that is what is referred to as the divine feminine energy in this tradition. And so how we see that and how we understand that, I will continue to expand on, but that's what the goddess is. And then what is Shiva? So the counterpart to Shakti is Shiva, is the omnipresent, and thus it stands to reason that Shakti, who is none other than Shiva, is omnipresent too. There is no place where Shakti does not reside. Shakti is in the pure, vibrant energy at the core of each and every object in the manifest and unmanifest creation. And when we look at the trees and the seas and the forests, there is no separation between Shiva and Shakti. They are one. They are one. There's no difference. So what we're looking at in these cards, and what we're looking at when we're talking about the goddesses, is the manifest. What is manifest? And what the rishis, so rishis is a Sanskrit term that refers to the seers, the ancient seers, they downloaded this information is through, you know, just like through downloads, through their clairvoyant experiences, be they in through their three-dimensional eyes or through their closed eyes, through their inner eye. And I'm going to read to you a little bit about how the statues of these deities are understood to be a transmission of all of that. And so part of the issue with these cards is that these are not trends. These are not the art, for the most part, is not a transmission. And so that's what I'm gonna get into. But I want to kind of go and look at some of these good question, Thompson. I'll share with you a couple of books in a bit here. And now I am there, so I should be able to go. So I put onto a few of the card images. I'm pretty sure I put a few of the card images onto the thumbnail. And just today, as I was searching for some pictures, so Kali is the topic of this deck. If you didn't see Queen Osset's video, there is a Kali Oracle deck that is coming out from Blue Angel. Some people have it in their hands already. The guidebook is by Alana Fairchild, and the artwork is by, somebody help me, it's the same artist as the Isis Oracle. This particular picture, I'm sorry, it's not a card. When I was searching through images today, this really struck me as a piece of art that carries a lot of energy. And it felt quite different from some of the oracle cards I had been looking at. And I sense that the artist who painted this picture saw this version of Kali in their dreams, and that Kali actually presented herself. It is so, so powerful. I was actually quite blown away by it. If you Google images of Kali, I'm sure it will pop up in your Google search. But like I said, it's not a card. Sorry, I just need to find oh, there it is. In order to share some of these images with you, I have to, just takes a little bit of back and forth here. There's a couple other ones that really I found quite illuminating. And here is another one. This one here. So just the way that the artist has drawn this picture, it feels to me like an experience that the artist had. I don't feel like it's and I can't even put it into words how different the experience. And you can share with me your opinion too, because I want to know what you think and what you feel, because we all have a variety of perceptions. So, and I'm going to tell you, because some of you know, that I work in a metaphysical store, and I get my hands on a lot of decks, and all of the, oops, sorry, that's not what I want. It's such a laborious process, but I'm going to share these with you. So Hay House, it's easy to get sample decks for Hay House at the store. So all of those decks I'm able to actually put my hands on. So many of these decks I've actually had the cards in my hands and made the choice not to purchase them. So this is Colette Baron Reed's deck. And so when I was going through this deck, the difference of what I felt in these cards to those previous two art pieces that I showed you was I don't even know if I can find the words to describe it, but it felt like something that should maybe be in a magazine. It was so disconnected. It didn't feel like it was connected to divine energy in any way. It didn't feel, and I love Jenna Della Grottaglia's artwork. I have many decks with Jenna Della Grottaglia's artwork, but I just don't feel that the way that the art came together. No, what do I want to say? I feel that the art, in order for the art to truly connect to the energy of Kali or any other god or goddess, ideally is received through transmission. And if it's not received through transmission, there's a lot of stuff in the way. And I can't necessarily define what that stuff is, but it's a little bit of a problem for me. I'll give you one other example, and then I want to go on and share with you some of the conversation and speak to some of the points that were shared this morning. Where's another good one to share? I'll share you one from the current deck if I can find it. Sorry, my thumbnails are so little here. I think this is one. Yes. So the one I'm about to show you is from this new deck. And you can tell me what you think. Do any of you have this deck already? I thought it wasn't out yet, but so this is from the deck that was talked about this morning. I'm just going to answer your questions. So these are all Kali. These are all images of Kali that I have shown you. And Jimmy Manton is the artist. Yes, thank you for that, Nancy. So the red picture that I showed you was just something that came up on Google today, and I found deeply, I just really felt its energy. I'll show it to you one more time. This one to me feels like, I can't credit the artist. It just feels like a transmission. And so it's a completely different experience than any of the oracle cards that I have, that I either put in the thumbnail or I've shown you here. So where I want to go, from here is to talk a little bit about some other things that came up. So on the back, I can show you the symbol too, because I have the symbol here. On the back of the cards of this deck, there is a Sanskrit character. And the Sanskrit character says cream, which is the seed sound for Kali. And so this symbol is on the back of the cards. And I imagine the intention here was that, so cream is the energy of Kali. The intention is that it would infuse the deck, infuse the cards. But according to the women who were talking today about the deck, there's no explanation of that in the guidebook. And so it's just kind of sitting there, vibrating. I don't know if you caught that for those of you that saw that video. So that, I thought that was pretty interesting. Each of the goddesses in the Hindu pantheon have a seed sound. They have a short mantra sound. And the idea when you chant the mantra is that it is one way to connect with the energy of that deity. And so it has a particular frequency, it has a particular vibration. And that is the one for Kali, which is cream. Bye, Mallory. So, so that was one thing that was talked about. And in the there's a lot of things that were not discussed in the book, and I think this is so. Several of you have asked me, do I have in my collection Sacred Mysteries, the Chakra Oracle, created by Kuch and Victor Daniels, and do I have a Yogic Path by Sahara Rose and artwork by Danielle Noel? And I do not have either of those decks. And I've not really talked about in public why I chose not to buy those decks, because I'm a yogi. I do a lot of chakra readings. I'm connected to that work and that lineage. And I've held those decks in my hands, and I've chosen not to purchase them. And so I'm hoping I can kind of find some eloquent words to describe why I don't have them. In the Kali deck that was the topic of conversation today, there's this term, Maha vidya. I'm just going to hold this up so you can see Maha vidya. And I'm going to go to my notes here as well too. 1 second. So the Mahavidyas, there are 10. So there's 10 variations of the goddess in the Hindu pantheon that are kind of led by Kali. And in this deck, I don't have the deck. So in this deck, I'm hoping that all 10 of them are included within this deck as different forms and energies of Kali. Kali is a form of the divine feminine energy. So it doesn't matter which one we're talking about, it's all divine feminine energy. It's just a different way that our subconscious connects to the divine to process the karmas, to process what it is that we are learning. And the Mahavidyas, of which there are 10, can be regarded as a protective shield that so if you are a devotee, if you are studying this, and if you have sincerity in your connection with the divine, that the Mahavidyas create a protective shield around you, and they carry out all of their functions at the behest of Shakti, of whom they are direct evolutes, created out of her own sweet will. Shakti will decode the exact and correct moment for your union with the divine. And so it's like these energies of Shakti of course they do, they have a power of their own. And so you will be guided to connect with a different aspect of Shakti depending on what you are working through at that time. And I just wanted to read to you a little bit about Kali in particular and some of these other energies. So these 10 Mahavidyas are known as Kali, Chinnamasta, Tara, Shodashi, Bhuvaneshwari, Tripa Bhairavi, Dhumravati. There are others. Sorry, my pronunciation is not rolling off my tongue very well. So they are 10. Kali is the foremost amongst the 10. They all arose as a consequence of her transformation from the terrible and frightening to the tender and benign. They all arose as a consequence of her transformation from the terrible and frightening to the tender and benign Kali. So the Kali as the terrible and frightening image, which I've got a very traditional one here in this book that I'm reading from, is also Kali in a more benign form. So it's just known by a different name. So I'm sure, so here, this is more of a familiar kind of image of Kali than in some of these cards. So my point here is that in this deck are included these 10 Maha vidyas, and there are so many layers within these 10 Maha vidyas that cannot possibly be explained to the depth and the level that they need to be explained in this kind of a guidebook. It is sacred work that you learn through connection to somebody who is enlightened, from a teacher, from a guru. I don't think this is something you can learn through an oracle deck. That seems highly arrogant to me. And maybe that's one of the feelings that I get when I look at these decks, is there's this sense of arrogance that you even have permission to do this. So I believe Queen Aset was asking about the cycle of these 10 Maha vidyas, and she wanted to see the art. So the artist Jimmy, oh my goodness, I'm gonna see if I can remember his name. There's some good comments here. I will read them back, and I'm sorry. If you want me to comment on anything particular, just make sure you put it in caps. I don't have the YouTube window open, so I can't see the orange, but if you write it in caps, I will respond. So what Queen Aset was talking about today was that these 10 Maha vidyas that represent the energy of Kali are different stages of life as well too. So we have a very young Kali, we have a teenage Kali, we have an older Kali, and these 10 Maha vidyas represent different stages of the life cycle. But the artist did not paint them with the stages of life in mind. They all look like they came out of a woman's magazine. And so there's no so if you're reading the deck intuitively, you can't possibly sense, okay, this is the younger energy of Kali. Okay, this is the crone energy of Kali. And so there's this, again, disconnect between the art and the energy of the potential amazing teachings that could come through a deck like this. And so in this particular, this is a small collection of cards I have from a friend of mine who works with the divine feminine energy. And I'm just going to kind of share, I can share this with you. It's a really nice summary. So if we start with, so the ones that we were talking about today were, bear with me, I believe she was talking about Shodashi. So Shodashi, who represents the younger version of Kali. I think that's the one they were talking about. So Shodashi, as around 16 years old. I have some other cards I can show you from this deck. Let me get that, because that will make it clearer. And then also known as Tripura Sundari. So Shodashi, the 16-year-old, the beauty of the three worlds, is the guardian of the city of Menarche. So she is the guardian of menses, of menstruation, the onset of menstruation. She represents innocence and unknown power. She is also sometimes called Shodashi, meaning the 16-year-old, for she is seen as eternally youthful beauty of 16 years old, uniquely amongst the 10 wisdom goddesses. She is without any fearsome attributes, save for the pair of sugarcane bows and arrows. And so I guess why I'm sharing this with you is that each of these 10 Maha vidyas have very specific energy. And I totally agree with the conversation this morning. I don't feel that due research was done or due connection was done between the publisher Blue Angel, the amazing Alana Fairchild, who I have many of her decks that I love, and the artist. It feels like they were working in isolation. And so I definitely have a problem with that, as did the two women in the discussion this morning. So Queen Osset is here. Are you just coming in now? Oh, Queen Osset, you've missed some juicy stuff. You'll have to go back if you have time to watch the replay. And so I'm just talking about this cycle here of the 10 Mahavidyas. And the other one that was in the conversation today was Dhumavati. So Dhumavati is the crone energy, the older energy. And again, there was this disconnect between the level of the artwork. And I'm just going to share with you here, and I'll tell you where these cards are from that I've got in my hand here as well too. Just a moment. Dhumavati is the grandmother guarding all 10 wisdom goddesses, their oldest, wisest ancestral guide. She protects initiation into wisdom, empowering us to live in our essential nature. Dhuma literally means smoke. And unlike the other Mahavidyas who radiate light, Dhumavati is made of dark smoke. She obscures vision with dark clouds of painful suffering and teaches us to welcome these experiences as opportunities for expansion of wisdom. Dhumavati brings a vital perspective to the whole life cycle. And of course, there's much more here, but yeah, so, and I think in the creation of a deck, the due care in the research is so very, very important. And one thing I haven't said is that if this artist has indeed received these paintings in transmission, I apologize. I apologize, and I will eat my words. So I want to say that. But I have a sense that is not the case. So these, okay, I've got so many things I will share with you, but for those of you that follow me regularly, you've heard me talk about Yoga Nidra. I have done Yoga Nidra certifications in a couple of different lineages. And when I was at the International Yoga Conference in Kripalu in June 2019, I met this amazing soul from the UK. And this was such a unique experience. I've never had a more luscious and cozy Yoga Nidra in my life. And her name is Uma Dinsmore Tooley. And I would hold up the box, but it's red on red. You can't see it. And Uma is married to an Indian man, and she is so deeply connected to the tradition. And she sings during her Yoga Nidras. She sings, she chants, she plays a drum, and it's a really powerful experience, like nothing I've had with any other Yoga Nidra experience in my life. And so Uma is a scholar and a yogi, and she has done so much for women and empowering women through her different workshops. And she, at the time that I was at the conference, her book was not published, and her book is, it's like really big. But I believe it is the same title as this one, Yoni Shakti. Oh, you can see my my starlights reflected in the deck, Yoni Shakti. And so these few cards from this little box came with a, what do you call it? The stick, a memory stick. And on the memory stick were a few of her recordings, as well as there are several cards for each of the 10 Maha vidyas. And she works exclusively with the 10 Maha vidyas during her Yoga Nidra teachings. So, all right. Okay, so the next thing I want to share, and this goes to the, hello, Liberius, any Misty Rain, I don't know who else I have missed. So, and I want to go back and Joseph says, it seems many oracle cards cheapen what the reality of the focus of spirituality is really about. And I think that, what I said, oh, you're welcome, Soul Stalker. Oh, and my name is not cards. My name is Sadhana. Let's change that. That's pretty funny. One of you could have told me that my name was cards today. There we go. Yes, I think Joe has made a really good point here as well, too. You can all read Joe's comment. And Joseph, I don't think it's about cheapening in as much as it's just incomplete. It's so very, very incomplete. And there's this commercial aspect to it that is really unforgivable. It is so disrespectful to something that people have put their life's work and life energy into, as far as I'm talking about maybe Vedic scholars or enlightened beings who teach us how to work with this kind of energy. You can't capture that through an oracle deck. So I want to circle back, and then I'm going to go back to some of the cards. At the very beginning of the video, I said, perhaps for some people, they're reaching for these decks because they desire connection, and they have no other way to connect. And perhaps these decks are a way in. And so my prayer is that every one of those people goes beyond and studies a little bit, does a bit of research. Maybe a particular card will inspire a connection with a teacher, or they will reach out, or something, because it's not enough. It's not enough. And that's why I don't use those two decks that I mentioned earlier, because they're not enough. It's just not enough. And it just doesn't cover everything that needs to be covered. So another card that was shown this morning that kind of really got me, got my hairs standing up on my arms. And I don't have the card here, but I'm going to show you an artistic, or actually I'll show you this rendition. Sorry for the slowness in the sharing the screen. Let's go to this one here. Okay. There is a card. There is a card in the deck that depicts this gesture. And the study of mudras, M-U-D-R-A, mudra, as part of the yogic practice is, it's a very high level practice, working with mudras. You don't just slap your hands together and create a mudra because it feels good. There's a lot that goes into this, and there's a lot of part of this practice. So if you were meditating and you did have a statue of Kali, oh, and I want to get back to that too, about the statues of Kali in front of you, and you were to place your hands in this mudra, and you were sincere and devout in your gesture, you weren't just messing around with this to see if you could have a Kundalini experience, it would deepen your connection for sure. On the card in the deck, it's called Kali Yantra. Kali Yantra. So what I just want to throw out there is to explain or to have a conversation about what is a yantra and what is a mudra. And I can say that a mudra is a yantra, but a yantra isn't a mudra. And I'm going to give you a couple of definitions here. So this is actually the Kali. Oops, here, let me get rid of that. Let me get rid of that. Stop sharing. This is the Kali yantra. The word yan comes from the Sanskrit word yam, which means stop, control, balance, contain, to focalize a powerful energy at one point. So how many of you have seen that work? I'm sure you've seen, you know, the science, what's his name? Emoto. I think his name is Emoto. He's a Japanese scientist. And they play music, and different kinds of music makes the ice crystals take different forms and shapes. And so they play with sound and the relationship between the water and the crystals. And so they have actually infused and used the water for healing through sound and these beautiful shapes. And so it's actually been scientifically proven, is what I'm saying. So these yantras that were realized by the rishis thousands of years ago have, in modern science, been in a little different dimension, been seen and realized. And so a yantra is a container for an energy. It's a container for a frequency to help you focus and to work with that energy. So, yeah. And so this actually is the Kali Mudra, not the Kali Yantra. So that was just something I thought was worthwhile kind of pointing out about the deck. Alrighty. So you're welcome, you guys. And you know, if this is like way too deep, I'm sorry. I apologize. So let us go on. I have a couple other things. And for those of you that tuned in later, we did a group reading at the beginning. And so I think it's a really, I want to circle back to that at the end, because I think that has an importance for this conversation here today. As far as goddess oracle decks, I don't have a lot, because when I've held them in my hands, I haven't felt the frequency of the divine in them. I've felt a very commercial kind of energy. And I believe in Colette Baron-Reid's Goddess Power Deck. I think I actually dropped it on the floor. I think I might have actually cried when I saw her face in the deck. I could not believe the arrogance of putting herself in that deck. And that reminded me of some of the Doreen Virtue decks where she put herself in the angel decks. It's like, it just made my stomach churn in a way that, like I'm not the store owner, so I couldn't take it off the shelf, but I was like, I was in shock. I was utterly in shock. Okay, so I'm going to change gears. Reiki master. Last Reiki master that I studied with was from Japan, and he came to Vancouver. And one of the things that I learned for the first time was that one of the Reiki symbols is connected to the energy of Kuan Yin. And in Japan, Kuan Yin is called Kannon, Kannon. And the energy, usually in Japan, it is the thousand hands of Kuan Yin, that particular variation of Kuan Yin. And in every hand, there is a tool. And those tools are there to help us work through all of the different karmas and aspects of our life that we're working through not just the ego, but everything else. And so what I did was I was really curious about this deck. This is also an Alana Fairchild deck. This is the mini version of the deck. It does not have the huge guidebook. I'm just going to where's Joe's comment? There it is. Chat's pretty busy today. So I was really curious about this deck, and I have something else I can share with you, but I'm also aware of a little bit, because I read quite a bit about, so in the 9th century, I believe, or the 10th century, or I'm just going to read to you. So the Kuan Yin, before Kuan Yin was known as Kuan Yin, the Sanskrit name for this particular deity is Avalokiteshvara. And in Japan, it's still referred to as that. And in India, Kuan Yin is called Avalokiteshvara. But even in China, until 1279, images of Kuan Yin were masculine in appearance. Images which later displayed attributes of both genders are believed to be in accordance with the Lotus Sutra. So for those of you that know the Lotus Sutra, it is that kind, loving, nurturing, supernatural power energy in the Lotus Sutra that evolved the energy of Avalokiteshvara to Kuan Yin, to the feminine energy. And so it was around the 12th century that this particular deity took on the characteristics of an all-feminine energy, as a mother, really, as a mother, as a protectrice. And through my deepening my studies with Reiki, I wanted to go back and revisit these stories and the history of this particular deity to understand how the deity was masculine and how the deity became feminine, and what is our current obsession with this particular feminine energy. And so I picked up the Kuan Yin Oracle, and again, beautiful artwork. And I had seen it on, I believe, Kasha's channel. Again, very glossy deck. Sorry, you can see my starlights in the background. But this is not at all what I was looking for. And while this is an incredibly beautiful deck, what this deck is, and the way that I read this deck intuitively doesn't have much to do with Kuan Yin as it does to, it feels to me like, what does it feel like? It feels like a myth. It feels like a myth. And again, we have, you know, the energy depicted at many different stages of life, in many different situations. It almost feels like if there was a Hollywood movie made of the life of Avi Lokateshvara, that this is kind of how it would play out. And it's really beautiful. I just don't see it as a goddess deck. So I'm glad I had the artwork in hand, but I don't see it as a way to connect with Kuan Yin in any way whatsoever. The other deck that I do have in my collection is the Seeds of Shakti by Sharon Basanti, who is of Indian descent. And I often purchase decks by local creators. Sharon is from where I live. And this was her first deck, and she's deeply connected to Indian culture. And she does have a Kali card in this deck. And she has a lovely guidebook that goes with it. This deck is now available again, actually. It was out of print for a long time. It's a very, very colorful deck. And I got this deck as a complementary deck to work with the Osho Zen Tarot, actually. And on the back, it's got the black and the white as well, too. So I feel, even though Sharon's artwork is very modern, very contemporary, I understand her connection to the culture that it's coming from. And in no way do I feel that this is commercial arrogance. In no way. I feel like this deck understands the traditions, the rituals. Like, here's the censor card. It's in complete respect of the tradition. So there's a mala card. And, you know, I feel this is, it's just a really beautiful deck. In a similar way, also the Marigold Tarot is so deeply connected to that culture and that energy. So this is a deck that I do use from time to time. It's not out a lot. It's hard to, it's such bright colors. I don't have a lot of decks to pair it with, but it's really a beautiful deck. And I need to go to the chat and see what's going on here. Sunny's here. Thank you. Thank you, Queen Osset. Okay, and Viola's here. Welcome. So, you know, this is as Queen Osset was saying, I'm very, very passionate about this, and I've held many of these decks in my hands and cried, put them down, chosen not to buy them. And I want to say, if this is your way in, this is your way in. The only other goddess deck I have is Susan Sedan Boulet's deck. And I don't know, I feel so on a very realistic level, right? There's no way, I'm just looking to see how many cards are in this deck. These are just the goddess knowledge cards I'm talking about. 48. 48. So what I was saying earlier is that if the paintings are a reflection of a transmission, it has a completely different energy. And I don't think it's possible that anybody would have had transmissions from 48 different goddesses. Like, wow, like you'd be vibrating at such a high energy, you'd be dead. You wouldn't be here. You'd be on another plane. And I also want to say that I really feel that in this deck, of all the goddess decks that I have ever looked at, I'll make sure to turn off the starlights next Thursday. This one feels like it's from another dimension. You know, I'm gonna actually, just give me 2 seconds. I'll turn off those lights because I'm going to show you a few of these cards if you don't have them. That's pretty funny. Create a little bit of mood and then the mood distracts from the presentation. So yeah, so this is. And since Navaratri, I've had this on my altar. Navaratri, well, that's a whole other topic. Navaratri is celebrated twice a year. It's the 9 nights of the goddess. And 3 days, depending on what tradition you are from, 3 days are devoted to Kali or Durga, and 3 days to Lakshmi, and 3 days to Saraswati. So these cards feel completely different than any of the cards I put in the thumbnail or showed you earlier. So I just wanted to say that. And also, I really respect the information that's on the back of these cards. Like on the back, there's this short little description, but it is just chock full of details and insight and places where you could spring off and deepen your research. Yeah. Alrighty. And I want to respect what Well-Tempered Claire is saying here, that not all artists channel. So not all artists kind of go into a zone and are led in a flow. People work in different ways. I'm thinking of, artists who do multimedia work. Actually, but I'm not saying that. I just recently, actually yesterday, read or reread the guidebook for Dust to Onyx, and it felt very much like Courtney, through her multimedia work, was guided in a lot of those images. And that's a deck that I'm going to be speaking to shortly on my channel over the next couple of weeks. Yeah, so there's different processes of art. But what I'm talking about here is a publisher who has a guidebook writer in there under contract, and then a painter over here, and just the separation. And I think the potential, even though this artist's, and I'm sorry, his name is not at the tip of my tongue, and I know a couple of you have written it twice for me here, Jimmy, I believe, Jimmy something. I don't have the Isis Oracle either. Even though he has a particular style of art, had he been informed, had they had meetings and gone through the cards one by one and really talked about the energy of each of the cards and given each card due consideration, right? Is not each card worth a 45-minute or an hour Zoom call to get it right. And I can just feel that didn't happen. It didn't happen. And it surprises me because Blue Angel has put out some amazing decks. And I feel this happened with Hay House. It disheartens me that this is happening with Blue Angel now. And so I guess just to be really cautious and do your research and explore decks before you buy them and really think about it. I don't feel this is about appropriation. I think anybody from any culture can connect with Kali. But they didn't. They didn't. So, yeah, and there's been some really good work where people who weren't born in India, didn't grow up in India, have really assimilated the culture. Like, look at people like, I don't know, Krishna Das. I love Krishna Das's lives from his office in wherever he is in the US. He's so connected to the energy. He's white, he's American. In no way does he offend. He inspires because of his connection. And so that's what's missing here. Alrighty, so I need to wrap this up. We've been on quite a while. Oh, now I'm going to just highlight a couple more comments here. Joe says, it's like marketing account managers for spiritual publishing departments watches TarotTube looking for most used keywords and then race. Yeah, I get that feeling. Yeah. Yeah, and I want to make sure this is clear about what I'm saying, Well-Tempered Claire. I don't want you to feel that I haven't missed the mark. So if this artist didn't feel the connection with that deck, there's a sacred energy here. And so if that artist couldn't connect with the energy and was just given instructions to do this, I guess that's fine if you just want something commercial. But if you want something connected, if you want to feel the connection of that energy, I don't feel that connection was put into that deck. So, yeah. I don't want to say he's not a great artist. He's done some amazing, amazing work. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying there's a disconnect. All right, I'm going to check in with my notes and then our wisdom. Yeah, that's a good point as well too. So I just need to quickly go through. We didn't talk about what is Tantra, but that's a whole other topic. I could also talk a little bit about Navaratri next time it rolls around. And yeah. So I do have I printed out, I was talking about the 1,000 arms of Kuan Yin and how I've been exploring that energy with Reiki. And because one of the Reiki symbols is connected to Kuan Yin, it looks like one of the symbols that's on the back of it's a Sanskrit symbol. And it's a Sanskrit symbol and it's also a Reiki symbol. And I never knew that because I'd never learned Reiki from a Japanese person. And to actually learn Reiki from that source informed so much. And so that was another reminder that there's all these layers of connection, and if we don't know they're there, we just don't know they're there. So, yeah. So find, what I would do is if you like a goddess deck, if you want a goddess deck, it might almost be like, so pick the one that you like the best. And if you want to connect to the energy, to do some further research, like use the deck as a springing off point, so that you can begin your journey and begin to deepen your way. Somebody asked about a book, and so I'm doing a particular sadhana right now, a particular practice right now, with the Sri Sundarya Lahari, which is a long mantra to the divine feminine. And a lot of the things I read from you are from this book that I'm working with, but this is not really an entry level point. So in answer to your question, I don't know, but this is what I'm working with right now. This is what I'm deep diving into. Yeah. Shakti in all of her aspects. So this is what I'm studying. So yeah, that is about, I think, there's never enough. I said earlier on and last live that I want to create a group. So I don't know what it's going to be called. Integrative Healing with Sadhana Facebook group. I need to find a name. If any of you have a name suggestion, let me know. And then in that group, we can have some more of these discussions. And I can share little bits of information, and we can talk about breathing, and we can talk about mudras and prayers and walks in the forest, or however you want to connect to the divine. Yeah, so that's kind of rolling around in here right now, and I'll let you all know once that is up. But if any of you have a brilliant name for this Facebook group, I would appreciate your input. So thank you so much for joining me here tonight. And I would love to carry this discussion on, privately in the description, in the chat below, or you can personal message me. Yeah. Stay well, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are, and be kind to one another. Namaste.